Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. This is a podcast for owners of accounting firms to help you actually build your business, offer quality accounting services, and get paid what you're worth. I'm your host, Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center, and for more than 20 years, I've been working with accounting professionals to help them start and build their businesses. And we, in this podcast, address a variety of issues and topics that are meant to actually help you work on your business, whether it be ranging from marketing and selling to client onboarding, client services, client retention, tech stacks, mental mindset, all of these things intended to actually help you, in fact, have the premier accounting firm in your area. Now, each and every week, we release an episode with the guests that we have on, experts in their own right as to various things that we need to be focusing on in our companies. And today's going to be no different. I happen to have someone I've been looking forward to have on the show for some time now. It is Kameron Thorne. Kameron is the executive director of BNI Utah North Region. He's a 15-year member of BNI, and in this time, he's learned quite a bit. He's also a BNI national trainer. As such, he also owns a company. He's a business partner in a meth cleanup consulting and product company called Apple Environment Meth Remover. Some of you might be familiar with this type of stuff, so this will be interesting. He's from Utah. He's married to Jennifer for over 30 years, has 4 sons, and has a dog, an American bully named Yeti. This is going to be an interesting thing here, and you'll find out why. Other types of jobs in the past have been vice president of a large resort management company, CEO of a franchise organization, and business coach with Action Coach. He has hobbies such as traveling to wherever there are palm trees and reading. Kameron is a huge baseball guy and loves attending live games. Something nobody knows about Kameron. Kameron and his wife met in Alaska while processing salmon for a summer job. I know of someone else that did the exact same thing, Kameron. And don't let your kids go fishing at the plant. That's something that he always mentions. He recently met 21 native Alaskans that claimed they've seen Bigfoot, and this was during a meth cleanup process, of course. So kind of interesting. Kameron, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here, Roger. Thank you.
You bet. So obviously, we're going to start talking about networking in a moment. We're going to get into some of the things that I believe our listeners need to hear. But obviously, the meth is kind of interesting. I know that you have that business. I'm curious, how did you get into meth cleanup?
Oh, my goodness. Well, you mentioned earlier in my bio that I did business coaching.
Of course.
And one of my clients, who's my business partner, he was during the last recession back in 2008 and 9, he was taking care of a lot of Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac homes that had been foreclosed on. And during that time, he said, man, a lot of these homes have meth in them. He goes, I got to start a company and just start cleaning up these homes. I was a business coach at the time, and he had hired me to help him grow his property management company. And I was like, I know nothing about meth. He was like, Kameron, he goes, you're good at growing businesses. You want to do meth with me? He said it just like that. Do you want to do meth with me? I didn't know how to take that. And so I was like, what are you talking about? And he goes, seriously, he goes, I want to make a company. I want to start this franchise. I want to build products. He had this grand idea, and I kind of calmed him down. I said, yes, I'll do meth with you. And the rest is history. We actually created a product that pulls meth out of homes, and we created standards. We work all over the world. We go to New Zealand quite a bit, Australia, work on a lot of native tribal lands and helping people out. And yeah, we've had this company. We had a cleaning company, and just here in Utah, you think there's not a lot of it's clean living here, but literally clear probably 700-800 homes. And we have found things out about meth, and we have a lot of great stories. We have a lot of dirty pictures of houses, and it's actually fun.
Yeah, I'm sure you've got some great before and after shots.
We do. And the before shots are funner to look at. After is just like, oh, yeah, the house looks great. But before, people look at it just with their mouths open like, seriously, people live there? Yes. Yes, people did live here.
That is crazy. So obviously, you've got that business from business coaching, get into meth. Obviously, you now are in BNI. How did that transition happen to where you then became not just a member participating with and networking, but actually now owning the Utah North region?
Yeah, 15 years ago, great question. 15 years ago, a gentleman that owned BNI, he saw I was business coach and I was the education coordinator in my chapter. Education coordinator does 3 to 5 minutes every single week on networking and how to grow your business. I pulled out a big grease board and I was showing them. I was like, guys, small changes make all the difference in the world. People think you have to make great big changes in your business to become successful. No, it's the small things. Focus on the basics. And I was teaching that. And the owner of BNI at the time, his name was Dan Rawls. He was there, and he says, I remember you teaching that. And I got into BNI as a Business Networking International. It's a big networking group, as a business coach. And I transitioned shortly after. I was doing very well as a business coach, helped a lot of companies. And I transitioned to being a business coach / meth guy. And so I was in BNI as a member for 11 years. And so my focus went from coaching all types of businesses like accounting practices, doctor's offices, cleaning companies. I knew that world, into really focusing on people that owned property management companies and had second and third homes that were running into trouble. And so I switched from the business coach to the full-time meth guy. And I couldn't tell you how much business I got at BNI. I would safe to say that over 50% of my business came through the networking that I was doing. I didn't realize how many people own second and third homes in BNI, vacation homes, apartment complexes, or their own. They had challenges with their own children. And so I got into that and then stayed into it and made a lot of money inside of BNI. And about almost 5 years ago to the day, my 5-year anniversary as BNI ownership is next week. And the owner was going through some challenges at home, and he said, I have to sell BNI. And I'm like, I'm right here. So it was so successful. My own business did over $1.6 million in referrals during the 11 years as a member. I was like, I have to, if it's for sale, I'm buying.
Yeah.
And so I'm a serial entrepreneur. We still own the meth company, and we don't own the cleaning company anymore. We're more of consultants now and product company. But that's how I got involved in BNI. Is it helped me so much. Having just moved here from Las Vegas, not knowing anyone, I was like, I've got to get in this. And now the ownership, love it. Same thing. It's just, it's been fantastic for my family, my partners. And that's how I got into it. So I'm networking and meth. That's my life.
There you go. So this is going to bring me to just networking in general, because I think for some of the listeners, they may be new to it. I'm imagining most are very familiar with it, BNI particularly, because obviously it's such a large international organization. But let's just kind of go to the base roots of what networking is and just build from there. First of all, I do know that in my business, much of it has come from networking, particularly BNI. I'm very grateful for the organization and the philosophies and training that come from it. But what in your simplest form is networking? Why is it so critical to marketing and so forth?
Well, if you think about marketing, their top priority is when people are marketing, they want really good lead generation. They want a high closing ratio. They want customers to stay with them forever. They want good brand awareness. They want to be upsell. They want audience engagement. And when they pay for marketing, you have to pay for marketing. Everyone has to pay for marketing. What people find is they don't get the good lead. If you're just paying for marketing, you don't always get quality leads. Your conversion rate isn't always good. Your volume isn't always good. It doesn't always prove your return on investment when you're paying for marketing. People that pay for just straight marketing, they call it hope marketing, is I hope because I paid for that my phone rings today. And so when you ask business owners, where does most of your business come from? Most business owners will tell you that my best business comes from referrals from other places. People spend the money on, lead generation, online ads, website, digital ads, trade shows, sponsorships, those types of things. They're spending on things that don't give you referrals. Most people don't spend money on things like referral networking groups because it takes time. They would rather spend money on marketing and hope that phone rings. Trust takes time. When you're getting referrals, you've got to put in time. And that's what most business owners don't want to do, even though what I'm trying to say is despite being the most effective lead generation strategy ever, being referrals, very few companies invest the time and money into generating referrals. They just simply don't want to do it, even though It's the highest conversion rate of any strategy. You make more money when you do it. And most people are already getting most of their business from referrals. Why don't they just enhance what they're already doing and keep building those relationships so that they get more referrals? You've got to network like your business life depends on it, because it does.
Yeah. There's something that we teach, and it's nothing happens until you make a sell. And it's basically prioritizing that all the things that are distraction in business need to take a second seat to any of the marketing or sales efforts that you should be doing. But I'm going to couple that and complement what you just shared with a few things that I think are very important. One is, I think there's this misnomer that happens in business in all industries. Everybody that I've ever business coached has an element of this, where they just presume that by spending the money, the leads or the referrals will come. And obviously, if you've got a proven marketing strategy, that can work. But what so often they try to avoid and forget is time and people interaction. And what I mean by that is, we as accounting professionals need to always remember that as much as we may think this is a numbers business, it's a people business. And as accounting professionals, we're working with business owners, and a lot of what needs to happen there is we need to make connections, we need to build rapport, and people are going to do business with people they like. And in a networking environment, not only does that give you an opportunity to meet and connect with potential business owners and clients, but it also gives you a chance to meet with so many other people that they can represent you, become your sales force, if you will, in the sense that through networking, it allows you to educate them as to what those trigger words are that you can't be everywhere at once. But if they're listening for those trigger words, it's very likely that they're going to have opportunities that you're never going to know of present themselves. And then all of a sudden, they're able to refer you, and that person likes and trusts that person that they're talking to, so that when they recommend that they do business with you, that's a foot in the door, and it gives you a chance to actually have now what's referred to by many as a warm lead. So I think this is great. So when it comes to networking, is there a right and a wrong way to do networking?
I don't believe so. I mean, there are so many networking groups out there. I mean, you think about it, there's speed networking. Speed networking isn't really networking. That should be called speed introduction, because all you're doing is handing someone a card saying who you are.
Fair enough, yeah.
Unless you follow up with that, it's not really networking. All it is a warm introduction that leads to the next step, where you need to meet with that person and discuss how you two can help each other. There's two keys to making money and networking. The first one is you have to build that relationship, and you cannot sidestep that. You can't live your life in a box and just hope, man, I hope somebody just gives me a referral. And I know you're talking to a lot of accountants. Most of their work comes from other people. I already know this because I've worked with accountants. Most of their work comes from people they already know, like, and trust, as you mentioned before. But in order to grow your business, there's only two things you have to do. You have to build a relationship with people to the point where that person has now decided in their head, I want to work with you. You have to get to that point. You can't sidestep that, and just doing a simple networking event is not going to get you there. And then once you've built the relationship, teach them how to market for you. And you had mentioned the word earlier, Roger, trigger.
Yeah.
Roger, explain to the audience, what is a trigger? I know you know what it means well.
Yeah. So triggers, basically, what can I do to educate someone who's not in my business that when they're in a conversation and something specific is said, it should trigger in their mind, this is a great introduction for Roger. And I'll just give you an example of it. Obviously, I'm also working with business owners. And so anytime I have a chance to educate in my networking, hey, if you ever talk to anyone and they bring this up, this is what I think is a great referral for me. And you just basically say any business owner that is in a business that is in a growth mode, that is struggling with either hiring new employees, that would like to increase their revenue or improve their profits, if they bring up that they're in the process of trying to take care of their growth plans, but they struggle in obviously putting together a formal presentation. All of these types of things are just examples of what may come up in a conversation that one business owner may say to someone else. And these are just then triggers to say, well, have you ever spoken to a business coach? Have you ever worked with someone like Roger Knecht? And all of a sudden, those conversations turn into, well, you ought to meet him. I can introduce you. And that's all I'm looking for, is I'm looking for these triggers to actually be said so that that person can be listening for those as they just come up in a conversation naturally.
you hit that spot on is you got to teach those triggers, and you teach your network how to market for you. And there's so many things that we leave on the table every time we do a job for someone. We ought to be asking them is, hey, I've grown my business word of mouth. And sooner or later, someone's going to ask, hey, who's your accountant? Hey, who is your handyman? And if they can't bring you up in the conversation, then you haven't done step one, which was build a relationship well enough that they're just going to bring your name up in that conversation. You've got to build a relationship and then teach others how to market for you. That's all you truly, if you just did those two steps, your business over the next 3 to 10 years would explode. Just those two things alone will just huge for your business. There's a really good book. I don't care if you bring this up. It's written by Stephen Covey. It's called Growing Your Business at the Speed of Trust. It's one of my favorite books because he goes, trust always affects two outcomes, the speed and the cost. When trust goes up, your costs go down. When trust goes down, your costs go up. And so everything you do should be about building trust with your clients. Thank them for coming in. Let them know that you get most of your business from networking. If they can't think of you for your next accounting job and to refer it, then you failed as your position as a business owner.
Yeah.
We always have to do better. Don't leave money on the table.
Very good.
No one gets offended when you say that either, Roger.
No. Well, let me go back to the trigger. I did have two things. One that to illustrate this, I'm obviously involved in the networking group, and I'm involved in a BNI chapter and so forth. And as I've learned about those connections I have heard what are their triggers. And so what's funny is I have friends, I have my own children, I have my spouse, and they'll say things. And it's in those comments that I'm able to go, oh, I know somebody. Oh, I know somebody. And over the years, I've actually become known as someone who has those connections. If they have a need or wonder what I would suggest, I'm regularly asked, hey, do you know anyone that does? And it's fascinating to me because not only am I able to hear triggers as I'm now basically paying attention more in conversations to things that typically don't affect or interest me per se, but now they do because I have friends that can benefit and offer services to help these individuals. But the point is in accounting, the three things that I have found as excellent triggers that more often than not come up in a conversation that lead to me being able to refer the accounting and tax specialists that I do is one, whenever the client starts to share how they're struggling with cash flow. The cash flow can become a concern. My collections are an issue. I'm having to push payables. As they start talking about cash flow, have you worked with a bookkeeper and accountant lately, a business coach? The other happens to be they work so hard to earn the money that they're earning, but they don't keep it. And that means that their profits aren't where they hoped and feel they should be. So any business owner that starts to say, yeah, I'm trying to increase my margin, trying to keep a little bit more of the money that I'm making, I'm working really hard, but I'm not getting ahead like I thought I might. Definitely. Are you speaking with, and I'll recommend specific bookkeepers, accountants, or tax preparers. And then the third happens to be they're struggling or frustrated with the taxes that they're dealing with, garnishment issues that they're addressing in payroll. Maybe it's something that's related to sales tax, or maybe it's just basically taxes in general. Anytime taxes come up, are you working with a qualified tax preparer? And it's in those conversations that I'm able to refer many of the individuals that I know that are specialists in the bookkeeping, accounting, and tax venues. And so that's, I think, an excellent example of the triggers. The other thing I want to go back to, and I think this is really important, worth focusing on, is there's a difference between networking and having success, which is you were talking about the purpose of networking. It's to make a connection. Once you have that connection, the success is in the follow-up. And it's your ability to nurture that relationship. Would you agree?
Absolutely. You just nailed it. Everything is just an introduction until you follow up with it. Everything you don't have a client until you follow up. The follow-up's so important in everything you do, especially in relationships. So absolutely, you nailed it perfectly. Networking versus success. I wrote that down when you said that, Roger, because I love it. Is until you follow up with that person, you're not going to have that success. Otherwise, It's just someone you met at Costco. So.
Yeah, I can't tell you how often early in my career I would have these stacks of business cards that I was so good at collecting. And I just assumed that sitting on my desk, they would turn into business. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. It was later I learned I need to one-on-one connect with that person. I need to meet with them individually. Meeting them in a networking event, in a group setting, I'm not going to get business from that. That's not where the transaction is going to happen. I've got to now take that to the next level. And honestly, that one-to-one is still not where the transaction is going to happen. It's from that I build rapport. It's typically in that I get connected with them, learn who they are as an individual. I start to see them beyond just that initial introduction. But now I've got a chance to, over time, educate them, help them understand what I do, more importantly, see me as the expert. And as their life progresses, they'll see opportunities to see my services as useful to them. And then that's where that transaction may occur. But yeah, the business card collecting that, just meeting somebody in a room, that's just the beginning of it all.
You ought to see the box of business cards. I should email it over to you so you can see it. I literally have 5,000 plus cards in a box where there has not been a single follow-up on any of them. And because I meet people everywhere I go and I get business cards. And until you take that step, those are just kindling. That's all they are, is they're going to make that fire burn faster when it comes through your apartment or house. When you pass referrals, and you briefly hit on this, it's so important. As you're passing referral, you're actually passing a piece of you. You're showing trust to somebody. As like, I'm giving you a referral, and I trust that you're going to take care of my client.
Yeah.
And that's the other part of it that some people get lost at is, here's a business card of somebody, you ought to give them a call. But when you call that person up and say, hey, I'm introducing you to Roger. Roger's fantastic in the business coaching world. The reason I'm passing this referral, and you explain the reasons why he's done so well for other people, this is someone I know, like, and especially I trust. When you give that to somebody, Roger's, he's going to close that deal every single time. If he doesn't, it's because they just don't like Roger's mustache. And that's what it comes down to. And his beard, he's just way too hairy.
There you go. That's the detriment of it all.
His conversion rate's going to go sky high on that. And we find in BNI, when you give a referral, or in any network, it doesn't even have to be BNI, whenever you do it, your conversion rate just goes sky high. If you took it to your hope marketing, you may convert 5 to 20%. But when you have a qualified referral, someone that you're sending this trust to, that thing goes from 75 to 100%. That's what happens.
Yeah, I would agree. The closing rate that I have for the referrals that I receive from the networking that I do definitely convert higher than just interests or things that come through as leads through other marketing efforts that I have. So I can definitely attest to that. So here's a question for you. Networking, there are people that struggle with it. There are people that are reluctant to do it. What typically do you find is the hesitation to get involved with networking, and how can you help address that?
First of all, I've mentioned it before, networking is a long-term proposition. A lot of people that join groups believe that money will just flow their way. The second is it takes them out of their comfort zone. Networking is not comfortable. And when you show up to any type of meeting, whether it's a chamber or if it's a BNI or a Knecht type meeting, you get to stand up in front of people, and anywhere from 5 to 100 people. And there are people that do not want to do that. And then there are also the people that believe, they look at networking and the cost of it as a cost, not as an investment. Those are some of those things, is they do not believe it will work. When you do an organization like ours is a system, and it is a proven system, been around 38 years. And you're forced to stand up. You're forced to give a weekly presentation against your better judgment of standing up and introducing yourself and actually getting out of your comfort zone. We force that on you. And I can't tell you, and Roger has heard it, I know he's heard it before, is even though I haven't received a referral for the first couple of months I'm in this group, I'm getting out of my comfort zone, and that is a good thing. It's allowing me to talk to people. And so many people are hesitant about that. Some people, again, they look at it as, all right, I'm going to pay, a few $100s for this. It needs to pay back immediately, not realizing that relationships take time. Trust takes time. And my first year, I told you I did pretty good.
Uh-huh.
But talking good, it was a couple $100 to belong. I made 10 to 12 times my return on investment, which means I only made about $4,500 that first year. Is that a good return on my investment? Yeah, it was. It was the time, but I had the time because I didn't have as many clients. That second year, I wasn't even going to go back because I was always uncomfortable. People think I speak well now, but I wasn't always comfortable speaking in front of people. That second year, I did about 28,000, which is more than 5 times my second year. Trust takes time. Then after that, it doubled again. And then after that, I never made less than $120,000 in the business that I was in. And my best year being over $300,000 in referrals money. And as a solo entrepreneur, that's not too shabby. I didn't get employees until about my 5th year inside of it. And I was finally had to get those employees. I read the E-Myth Revisited, got all that. I was like, all right, I'm the pie maker. Got to get my employees. And I did what I was supposed to, and it worked out really well. So you want to get to that point because you want to get a commercially profitable enterprise that eventually can operate without you, because that's what we're all looking for.
You're speaking my language. I love it. I want to go back to the long-term perspective. One of the things that I always share with people as I'm talking about networking is you're right. A lot of times they're like, I attended this meeting, I went to this chamber, I went to this networking event, and nothing came of it. And I just have to try and share that's too short-sighted. You've got to be looking at something more long-term. And the advice I always give is, first of all, you need to be willing to commit to the networking group for at least 2-3 months at a minimum, because the thing that I feel that the members are trying to evaluate is, one, they're trying to get to know you, but 2, they want to see, do you have that stick-to-itiveness that says that you're committed to the group? And what I mean by that is they're not going to necessarily refer their friends and connections to someone that appears to be non-committed, flaky. They want to know somebody's actually in there for the long haul. And so it takes a little bit of time, but like you've just demonstrated with your own numbers, it then builds over time as you get those greater connections. You start to build the respect of everyone in the group. And then there's that collaboration that starts to occur. So it is a long-term commitment. I also liked how you said systems. I know that Ivan Meisner, he just recently spoke, and he mentioned that if he was to change anything, he would change nothing. He would only, in the organization, expect more people to follow the system. Speak to that, because I know you know what I'm talking about.
What did he actually say it, Roger?
I think it was darn. I think it was darn system.
I think it started as damn and went to darn, because he was like, oh, I'm speaking to Utahns. I need to go back to darn.
Yes, so he did. I'm reluctant to say it.
Weren't you the one that asked him the question?
No, it wasn't me, but I know what you're referring to.
So, Roger, why has networking worked so well for your organization? What has it done for yours?
It's given me connections that I wouldn't otherwise have. You've got to realize that much of my day is spent in the office dealing with a variety of things that really doesn't give me an opportunity to connect or interact with people. And so for me to have individuals out there that I see on a weekly basis that are familiar with what I do, my services, who I am as a person, that know, like, and trust me, as they're talking to their clients, many of which they work with business owners directly. And as they have conversations with them, all of a sudden that business owner in that conversation will share things just in conversation that are triggers that the individual will then say, oh, by the way, have you ever worked with a business coach? Do you know who, Roger Knecht is? As they talk to accounting professionals, oh, you're an accounting professional, you have your own business. Do you work with Universal Accounting Center? That right there is a conversation I never would have had, just simply because I'm not in those conversations. I'm not meeting these people. So it's truly an extension of myself. And I've got, for example, a great referral source where one of the individuals happens to be a financial planner. She works with high net individuals, and she typically is interacting with business owners. And she, as part of her process of working with her clients, is very good at bringing up, do you work with a business coach? And she knows that when I work with my clients and we start talking about how they need to be paying themselves appropriately and that they need to be planning for their future, obviously I'm bringing back up why they need to be interacting with her as their financial planner. And so I'm basically reciprocating and helping them realize how valuable she is to their success. And all of a sudden it's a nice little circular relationship. And that right there is something I couldn't do on my own. I'm in my office working, and these conversations wouldn't be ones I'd participate in. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. You're speaking my language now. So, I mean, people don't realize in engagement, peers influence 90% of our buying decisions. Think about where you go on vacation, the car you drive, the neighborhood you live in. Most of it had to do with peers that you talk to. 84% of business decisions, decision makers begin their process with a referral. Business to business buyers are 500% more likely to engage with a referral. Appointments are and I'm reading statistics. I got them right in front of me here, but appointments are 420% more likely with a personal connection. Your conversion rate is 300 to 500% higher than any other channel. And salespeople who actively seek referrals earn 400 to 500% more than those who don't. Those alone should just have people looking for referrals. Most of your business already, those listening today, if you're a business owner, most of your referrals or most of your business is already coming from referrals. You need to take that on steroids, figure out a way to get more referrals.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's the next question. And you alluded to this earlier in your own story. What advice do you have for someone that gets into networking, chamber, BNI, whatever the organization, they start to participate, it works, they start getting referrals, they grow their business, and all of a sudden they're starting to question, should I keep going? Is it something I should continue to do? I'm so busy. Is it worth my time?
You just brought up my nightmare. That's what I just did. Roger may not know this, but after my 3.5 years of BNI, my business just took off. And I said, I don't need this anymore. I don't need to get up at 6 a.m. to get to a 7:30 meeting. And people don't know this. I quit. I quit my network. And I had a business coach, and I hired this lady, and her name's Jennifer, same name as my wife. She's this cute little lady out of Indiana. And she was from the South originally and had this Southern accent, but she cussed like a sailor, and she would yell at me because if you don't have a business coach, you should. Even for the fact is they hold you accountable. Everybody needs someone to hold you accountable. And so my business coach, Jennifer, used to cuss at me, make me do things that I didn't want to do. That's why you have a business coach. And she was looking at my P&L statement, and she goes, Kameron, you're down 40% over last year. And in my third year in a networking, that's when it was my third year of business ownership and third year inside a networking group. I did both at the same time because my business coach made me do it. She forced me, and I'm so glad she did. But she goes, you're down 40%. What is going on? Is BNI not working for you? And she didn't know that I had left. I had joined a golf group that had some of the people that gave me referrals, and I thought I would still get those referrals, and I didn't. Lost 40% in 1 year because I didn't have that group, because I didn't want to get up early enough to get to that group. I see it happen all the time in my own networking group as people leave, and about a year later, they show up. So as soon as both Jennifers found out I was down 40% revenue, I had two Jennifers yelling at me at the exact same time, on the phone at the same time. And I was like, I will get back in BNI. And I was back the next week. I found another chapter, and I've been in that chapter ever since. I keep my membership inside of one because I love to pass referrals, and I still receive referrals.
Yeah.
You learn this from your business coach. You do not stop marketing when business is good. And unfortunately, we as business owners think that way. We don't think we can get employees, or, it's just going to be that much busier, and I just don't have time for that 90 minutes each week to build my business. Until you see that things start going away. If you don't show up to your networking group, the business doesn't just keep coming magically. I have such a good relationship. They're just going to pass me those referrals. Roger, you and I both know, you've seen it as a business coach. How many of your clients stop marketing after things start going well?
Too many. I think it's very natural now, just simply because of my history. I've seen it time and time again. That's why I always have to come back to nothing happens till you make a sale. You always have to be feeding that funnel to drip people into that process. Whether or not you're going to take on a new client is irrelevant. But I will say the best advice I've received is, if you've got a new client, why not look at charging a little bit more for your services and see if that will actually go through. And then if you bring on that client, maybe it's time to get rid of that one client that's just kind of a pain, that's consuming too much of your time, that isn't fun anymore, and just keep your business evolving. Just keep it ever improving and so forth. So I've always kind of taken it as an opportunity to test new price points and maybe get rid of some of the deadwood. So that's my thought on it.
I love that you said that. I was taught A, B, C, D clients. Your A's are the clients that just love you, and then they go out and they celebrate you and they tell everyone. Your B clients love you, but they don't tell anyone about you. Your C clients are always trying to get, hey, I don't know if I'm going to do this. They're not always getting their homework done.
They're not responsive.
They talk about, I don't know if this might be their last month working together. And then the D clients are your terrorists. You got to get rid of your C's and your D's and work on your B's and your A's. You make your B clients your A clients. Try to get your C clients to be B clients. If not, move on, increase your prices and stuff. And so many people are afraid of that. I'm so glad you brought that up. Is I teach people that all the time. Is I was in business coaching for many, many years. And at some point, if you're not making the money, charge more.
Yep.
Watch what happens. If you raise your prices 15%, you're not losing your clients.
Yeah.
But that 15% can mean now you make your house payment. Now you can take that vacation. We're not working. And I say this, you didn't buy your business for your employees. You bought your business for you.
Yeah.
We have to be a little selfish sometimes.
Yep. So you brought up the business coaching. I'd love what's one or two very important points that you would emphasize in the coaching that you provided to your business clients? What's part of your business repertoire that you could share with us?
Well, some of the things that I really loved is, there's only 5 talking about, everyone wants to know about the bottom line. And it really comes down to your bottom line. There was only 5 things you could do to increase your bottom line. You either had to find more clients, you had to increase your conversion rate, you had to do more transactions with your clients, you had to increase your price point, and then you had to be efficient. Those are the only 5 things you can change. And I always loved working with people, and I would figure out where their numbers are. What's your conversion rate? What's your average seller sell? How many times are people buying from you? What if we could increase each of those by 5%? By just making small changes. I talked about that earlier. If you make small changes in your business, like increasing your prices by 15%, increase your conversion rate by 10%. Just those 2 things alone will increase your bottom line, your profit margin. And I know I'm talking to the house too, because you get a lot of accounting people on here. They understand that. Yeah. Just those 2 things alone will increase your profit margin by your profit, not your profit margin. Big difference. Your profit by 20% just by making those 2 little changes in your business. It doesn't take much. Is find those areas in your business and work on them. The biggest one I always tell people is look for more opportunities to have a conversion rate. And once you do, get better. Just get better. And so many business owners are afraid to ask for the sell because they're uncomfortable. They don't like anyone asking them for the sell. But when you go buy a car, you go drive that car, they turn the motor off, that salesman says, follow me, and we walk 10 feet behind them like a lost puppy dog. Like, oh, no, they're going to ask me to buy the car. And guess what? They do. They ask you to buy the car.
And who's surprised, right?
Yeah, we all know they're going to, and it makes us uncomfortable. And so because we're uncomfortable asking for the sell, we don't. We just asked them to drive your Ferrari, and then you're like, hey, if you're interested, call me back.
Yeah.
No, ask for the sell right now, Roger. Ask for it, because you can't hit a home run if you don't swing for it. So that's what, and so many people are afraid of that. Is ask for the sell, increase your prices, ask them to buy again. Once they've bought from you before, they'll buy from you again, and then look for ways to be more efficient.
Yep. So the phrase I learned that really summarizes a lot of what you just said is you should have as part of your business model, how do you sell how do you sell to more people, more things, more often? If you look at what are you doing to actually sell this month more people than you did last month and so forth, that's first. Second, how do you actually increase the revenue per sale? So how do you get them to buy more? And then the third is, if they're buying from you every 6 months, how do you get them to buy from you every 5 months, every 3 months, every 2 months? It's those 3 questions. How do you get more people to buy more stuff more often? You hit those three things out of the park, little incremental increases, you're going to see your business take off in far bigger directions. And it's the same thing with accounting. That's why when I work with accounting professionals, I'm looking at the accountant bookkeeper and seeing why are we not offering tax services? And sometimes the hang up is whether or not they're going to be now doing taxes. And it's like, no, you can hire someone in your company to now do the tax returns for the business clients that you have and take care of it internally. It's very simple. And the same thing is if you're already doing the accounting, you ought to do the bookkeeping. If you're doing the tax, you can do the tax planning. It's just, what can you do to complement each of these services, each of which bring in additional revenue streams? And I think this conversation is so fun when I'm having it with a firm owner, just because there's so much potential.
I'm having fun because you're taking me back to my business coaching. Once you're a business coach, you're always a business coach.
Yeah.
Mine turned into business coaching, cleaning professionals that clean up drug labs. I teach them all the stuff we're just talking about right now. I teach business owners. I can't tell you how many of my one-to-ones that I do in my office. I've got these couches, and they look like couches that you would have at a counseling office. And I take notes and stuff, and those end up being business coaching. I don't do business coaching anymore, but I still do business coaching, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
As people come in, a lot of business owners, those three things that you just said, I was like, tell me your numbers. All right, raise your prices. Ask them to buy again. Ask for the sell. Those little things, and they're like, oh, wow, thank you. You're so smart. I'm like, no, it's what we should do as business owners. And so learn the basics and stuff, and incremental changes and being consistent. That's the other thing is in your business, be consistent, but make sure you're consistent is good. The bar is really low right now in customer service and everything we do. The bar is set low. All you have to do is do better than the next person. Set the bar high. Follow up with people. Here's a great piece of advice. Answer your phone.
There you go.
You want more business? Answer your phone. Think of all the people you've called in the last month that you've called them and they don't answer their phone. Answer your phone. You're now better than 90% of the business owners out there.
I am continually shocked how many people I call and their voicemail box is either full or not set up yet. How's that even possible? That makes no sense to me that it's either full or not even set up yet. And I'm talking about people that I'm trying to do business with. And that shocks me time and time and time again.
I have money in my hand. I want to give it to you. Answer your phone.
And I can't even reach you.
Because you know what happens when you don't? They go to the next person.
That's right. Because I have a situation that I need resolved, and I'm in the mindset right now, and I'm going to get this addressed. So I'm moving on to the next thing. So I agree. All right, here's the last thing. I want to end on a fun thing here. You brought up Bigfoot. Okay, tell me this quick Bigfoot version thing. I want to hear it.
Okay, I've never seen Bigfoot, but in part of my bio, Roger read out that I met my wife in a fish plant in Alaska. And so part of the teaching that we do, we go up to Alaska quite a bit, and we work with a lot of the Native Americans up there. There's some big challenges with drugs and fentanyl and methamphetamine. And so the Alaskan government paid for us to come up and teach these Native Alaskan groups how to clean up meth because they have problems inside their villages. While I was there in Alaska, and I know this is a long story, Mark and I was reading about a fish plant that was very close to the one where my wife and I met. We fell in love at the fish plant. It's so romantic up there. You smell like fish. Anyway, go on that. I'm kidding. But we spent 20 hours a day together. So we got to know each other really well. Anyway, one of the plants got closed down. And so my business partner, Mark, we were reading about why it got closed down. And I couldn't believe it. And it was just an incredible story. And it talked about the fishermen and the people living in this village were having their arms and legs dismembered by Bigfoot. And I was like, no, this is not true. And so when I was teaching this class, I said, all right, guys, I read this story last night. I said, I used to work out in Knecht, and they're talking about Bigfoot killing people. I said, it's kind of an unbelievable story. And all the locals were saying, no, it's true. And I'm like, whoa, what? It's true. What do you mean? And then I had to ask the question, have any of you guys seen Bigfoot? We were teaching 21 Native Alaskans. Every hand went up. And we're like, what? Mark and I are just looking at each other like, all right, we're going to Applebee's tonight. Who wants to go to Applebee's? We're buying dinner, And I just want to hear your stories. And then one right after the other started telling their stories to us about it. And a lot of them were saying, yeah, he's our protector. We've had a totem type pole thing in our village for the last 1,700 years. Here's the picture of it. It's a totem pole of Bigfoot. He's our protector. Some of them even had pictures, and they all told us their stories. And so here I am. I'm one of those guys, I don't believe till I see it. I don't have faith in Bigfoot, but I just sat with 21 people, and they weren't drinking. But it was during a meth remediation course, so I didn't know if there's anything in I don't know. But they all told their stories, and it made for a great night. Now my wife, I talk about it all the time that I do want to see it. I want to take one of those excursions and go see if it's true. I watch the videos and stuff. So my wife bought me a T-shirt that says Bigfoot Team Bigfoot or something like that. And sometimes I wear it. And then the people that really love Bigfoot always come up to me and like, oh, you believe too. And I don't know if I do or not, but I got to hear all those stories, and it made for a great night. And I still keep in contact with some of those people. But seeing pictures and hearing stories, who am I to say it's not true?
There you go.
There you go. Here's my Bigfoot stories.
I love it. So, and you're holding to it, right?
I'm just repeating what was told to us, and we can't wait to go up and teach again in Alaska because I want to hear more of the stories.
I love it. I love it. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wrap up this conversation, and in doing so, I'm going to come back to you for a final thought. So here we go. As for the episode description for the listeners, definitely want to encourage you to subscribe to this podcast. If you haven't already, subscribe and set your notifications so that you can receive those notifications each and every week when we release a new episode to actually help you work on your business and, in fact, have the premier accounting firm in your company. Or in your area. Now, the one thing I do want to emphasize is in the episode description, I'm going to be putting some things there that you'll want to take advantage of. First of all, one of the things that we've talked about today is networking. BNI, I'll put some things there about that, but also I'm going to be putting some information regarding business coaching. That was something that came up repetitively just simply because of my role in coaching, Cameron's role in coaching, that I'm sure you'll find interesting there. It's essentially how you can also become what's referred to as a profit and growth expert, to take the accounting services that you have to a whole new level and offer now more CFO and advisory type services and truly get paid even that much more, building quality relationships with your clients and helping them build their businesses as you can, being that accounting professional that you are with this great advice and CFO service. Now, regarding the summary, this has been great. Obviously, it's a little bit of the story of how Cameron moved from being just a serial entrepreneur to now being more involved with BNI, having the Utah North Region. That's amazing. I think the great talking point started with what is networking and the fact that it is a long-term commitment. It's not for the short term. I like that he was able to emphasize that it's not the meeting that matters. It's the connections that you build, and you got to put time and energy into that. The other thing that I thought was quite helpful is basically some of the business principles that we were talking about, that even when we're growing our business and we're busy, we still need to continue to do the networking and keep those funnels filling so that we can continue to bring in the leads. His advice about how you can now actually rank your clients A, B, C, D, excellent ranking. Obviously, we want that A client that not only is a phenomenal client, but is basically going out there and championing us, being that cheerleader of who we are and what we do. That's really what we want. And converting those B clients into those people that are out there celebrating our successes and who we are, taking the C's and D's and perhaps replacing them with new clients. That was a great part of the discussion. I always also like the idea that we just need to do incremental increases within our business. When we look at the company, can we do that 15% increase? Or not can, we should do that 15% increase in the pricing that we have. What can we be doing to sell more people, sell them more stuff, sell them more often? And those three business principles can actually help us in our companies and the clients that we work with. The other thing that I wanted to point out is that with networking, I think it's very important to understand that triggers are the secret. It's where you're able to take and educate those people that are becoming familiar with you as to what those things are that can stand out in the conversations they're having with other people that give them great opportunities to mention you and refer you. And the last thing I'd point out is the power of meeting with these connections that we have one-on-one. I like how he mentioned that he's got this box of 5,000 business cards, and it's just kindling. It's taking those business connections that we're getting, those business cards that we have, and meeting with these people one-on-one and literally taking that connection to now a relationship. That's the evolution. That's what we need to be working on. And I thought all those little tidbits were very helpful in our conversation today. So Kameron, what's your final thought?
Final thought. First of all, I want to thank you guys for allowing me to come on here, and especially Roger with Universal Accounting, fantastic individual. I've worked with Roger for a couple years now, and really just want to emphasize the point is, despite being the most effective lead generation strategy ever, when I'm talking about getting referrals, very few companies invest the time and money into generating referrals, because trust takes time. It is the best way to grow your business. Build relationships, then teach other people how to market for you. You will be so happy that you did. Your business will flourish like you've never seen it before. When you pass that trust to somebody, when you give them a referral, you're giving them trust. People want that. People really do. And leveraging referrals by far is the best way to grow your business. It's much more enjoyable receiving referrals than it is having to pay money and hope that phone rings every single day. I love the discussion we had about triggers and stuff. And you've got a network like your business life depends on it, because it does. So how about that?
That's perfect. That is excellent. So everyone, in listening to this podcast, definitely, again, subscribe. You definitely want to do that, and go back and listen to past episodes where we've had on excellent guests that have addressed a variety of topics ranging from marketing, selling, pricing, client onboarding, tech stats, dealing with client retention, offering quality services, mental health, and so much more. In addition to that, I want you to check the episode description for additional free resources that are available to you as the accounting community to help you basically work on your business. And also want to invite you to attend our annual GrowCon conference. It is for accounting professionals, individuals that own their business, to help them work on their company. It's here at GrowCon that you actually meet your peers, meet us here at Universal Accounting Center, and most importantly, hear from the experts. In addition, if you'd like more information about these principles and other things that we're talking about, so that you can in fact be the premier accounting firm offering quality bookkeeping, accounting, tax preparation, tax planning, CFO and advisory services, give us a phone call. You can reach us at 801-265-3777, or you can visit us online at universalaccountingschool.com. And always remember this: accounting success is universal. Take care and have a great day, and be safe out there, everyone.